I'm here at Redcon 2025 with Jennifer Nuckles, CEO of R0, and we'll be talking about trends in smart building technologies and our outlook for the sector. Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time to speak
Thanks
with
so
us.
much for having me.
Of course. So, really, what are the defining characteristics of a smart building, and what does a successful implementation of the technology look like today?
Sure. So I'm asked this question a lot, and I think what's really kind of funny is that buildings historically have had a forced trade-off between tenant experience and operations of the building, meaning how efficient and how effective are they for the owner operators. And so when I think about the definition of smart buildings, I think about using technology to make the buildings more efficient without compromising tenant experience.
Sure. One takeaway I had from the panel discussion was that a lot of implementations of technology, or a lack thereof at times, are not often due to a lack of willpower or creativity, but sometimes costs.
Yeah.
So what should owners and operators, maybe who are a bit more cost conscious, prioritize when implementing smart technologies at their properties?
Yeah, so I think over the past 5 years, tenants have very much been focused on utilization of spaces. Owners and operators have been focused similarly on utilization of spaces and actually right-sizing their portfolio, thinking, especially in Class A real estate, let alone Class B and Class C, how are these buildings being used and whether they actually will be vacant, because it's very expensive to have even just a couple months of no rental income. And so what owners and operators, as well as tenants, have started doing is really focused on their bottom line. And when you think about the three primary costs for a firm, they are number one, the real estate, number two, human capital, and number three, energy. And so for my business, what I think the largest opportunity is being very, very efficient to actually run the buildings where the people are, meaning run your HVAC, your heating and cooling, run your lights, optimize your spaces for how your tenants are actually using them, not just for this is the way they've always been done or this is what the portfolio looks like. And I think the inherent opportunity for everyone is really pulling out those hard costs associated with the building. The Department of Energy estimates that $190 billion are used in energy for commercial real estate a year, and 30% of that is wasted. So I think $60 billion a year. If you pull out a fraction of that at the largest commercial real estate owners, they're saving meaningful dollars to their bottom line.
Sure. And in answering this question, which technologies are you paying most attention to now, and what's your overall outlook for the industry going forward?
Yeah, so the technology that everyone's talking about is artificial intelligence. That's not surprising. We've all been talking about that at conferences for about 6 months. But when you think about AI for prop tech and for commercial real estate, this is really a ripe area for opportunity, because historically buildings have been dumb. They haven't been smart buildings, meaning that lights are running 24/7, HVAC is running 24/7. We just got off a panel that we were talking about parking, for example, and there are dedicated parking spaces that are associated with every tenant within a building, regardless if they're coming into the building or not. So these are like blunt instruments that are being run. When I think about the use of data, specifically LLM models, large machine learning models, and how owners and operators can actually look at their portfolios and predict lease vacancies or predict how buildings are going to be used on a daily basis, and then actually automate the systems so they can pull out the hard costs. This is where the opportunity is. And what I am really excited about is that the industry has faced such tailwinds in the past couple months, especially as this conversation has occurred. It's basically negated all of the headwinds that we saw with that whole term return to office, return to work from several years ago, where people were really just focused on how buildings were being used.
Sure, we're only really going up from here.
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Jennifer, it was a pleasure speaking with
you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. This was great.